Oh, Revo! On Pro Revo! All Pro Revo!
Alright, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from Street Scores, and the AP All-Pro teams have been revealed. Of course, a few Commanders players have been snubbed. We're going to take a look at who was snubbed and why. We're also going to take a look at all of the votes that everybody got. How many votes did Jonathan Allen get? How many votes did Daron Payne get? And then we also got to take a look at the fact that a lot of the defensive tackles that get All-Pro votes are also heading into free agency just like Daron Payne, man. This defensive tackle market might skyrocket, just like the receivers last year with Terry McLaurin. We may have a similar thing with Daron Payne, where if we would have paid him last year, we could have got him for way less than what we're going to get him for this year. So we're going to dive into that. Of course, Jeremy Reaves makes the first team All-Pro from the AP team. He already made it with the All-Pro first team that the players put together, and he's also a Pro Bowler as well. So we're going to dive into the story of Jeremy Reaves and everything, man, and why this was such a Disney movie level magical situation with Jeremy Reaves and how far he's come and all of that and everything he's accomplished, man. And then I also have a Jeremy Reaves interview at the end of the video if you would like to see that, where he's talking to reporters while cleaning out his locker and everything for the end of the 2022 season. So stay tuned for that at the end of the video as well if you're interested. But before we dive into everything, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell next to the subscription button so you get notification immediately. And every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one, make sure you pull up every Sunday. Even though the Commander season is over, the Street Score season is not over. We're going to talk draft, free agency, Scott Turner getting fired, potential offensive coordinator candidates, all of that type of stuff. So make sure you pull up on Sunday. We're going to have a live stream as if the Commanders are playing. We'll be watching the playoffs games together. And then, of course, make sure y'all stay tuned, man, because I have draft content, free agency content, all kinds of stuff coming up. Y'all see me posting like 2-3 videos a day. So stay tuned, man. And without further ado, let's get it. Well, it's official. Jeremy Reaves can officially go by his nickname All-Pro Revo because he is now officially on the Associated Press's 2022 NFL All-Pro first team. The first one, not third, the first team. My boy Jeremy Reaves is not playing with y'all. He did a clean sweep. My dog made the Pro Bowl. My dog made the first team All-Pro for the NFLPA. This is their first year doing it, voted by players, and also the AP as well. All three, clean sweep. Clearly the best special teamer in the NFL, and it's obvious. We're going to talk about how many votes he got and everything when we start looking at how many votes everybody got. Daron Payne and Jonathan Allen and Cameron Curl and all those guys, and Tress Way as well. But before we dive into that, man, just this whole story and how we even got here, man, is crazy. Remember in 2020, Ron Rivera considered signing Eric Reid, but instead, he chose to go with Jeremy Reaves. He felt like he worked his tail off and he deserved an opportunity to prove himself. Lo and behold, 2 years later, Pro Bowl and 2 different All-Pro first teams. I mean, that is amazing, man. That is a crazy story. On 4 teams in 5 seasons, going undrafted, and now he just clean sweep every list that you could potentially get. He was also on the Pro Football Focus's first team All-Pro team as well. I mean, literally a clean sweep across the board for Jeremy Reaves. Remember, Washington went from 1997 to 2019 without an All-Pro selection. Then Brandon Sheriff broke that streak in 2020, and then 2 years later, we have Jeremy Reaves. And I mean, Brandon Sheriff, shouts out to him for making All-Pro, but he didn't have a clean sweep like this. And again, this is the first year that the NFLPA and the players voted for their own first team All-Pro, and Jeremy Reaves even made that one. So out of the top 4 lists that people probably check for, including Pro Football Focus if you care, Jeremy Reaves is all 4 of them. He's the first to do it. But sadly, even on top of all of that, Jeremy Reaves is the only Commander player voted for the first or second team on any of the All-Pros. Associated Press, NFLPA, any of them. Jeremy Reaves is the only one that made first or even second. And again, he's first on all of them, but we don't have any seconds either, which really sucks. And I felt like that's a super snub for Tress Way, Jonathan Allen, Daron Payne, and Cameron Curl. Especially Jonathan Allen and Tress Way, man. I mean, Tress Way was the #1 voted punter for the Pro Bowl. How is he not first or second team All-Pro? Daron Payne, I can kind of understand, even though I felt like he had a good argument for making All-Pro second team. And then Cameron Curl, I'm happy that he got a vote. I feel like he's dangerously underrated, but he did miss a few games this season. Hopefully next year he makes it. But again, we're about to take a look at all of the votes that everybody got, how many they got, and all of that type of stuff. And then we're also going to talk about Daron Payne because, again, again, a lot of these guys that got all of the all-pro votes are heading to free agency, so it may be a similar thing to the receiving position last year with all of those guys getting paid, and then Terry McLaurin got paid a little bit more because of that. But then again, Daron Payne is one of the guys that got the least amount of votes, so maybe that helps us as far as paying him. Now, granted, he led the team in sacks, so I'm pretty sure his agent is just gonna say that. He's gonna name his price, and then that's that. That's all. Doesn't matter what else happens. Daron Payne led the Commanders in sacks in a season where Jonathan Allen made the Pro Bowl, and Daron Payne is a Pro Bowl alternate. So I'm pretty sure the agent's not gonna care about how many votes he got or how many votes he didn't get. Led the team in sacks. Daron Payne's about to get paid. Now, hopefully we jump out in front of this and pay Payne first before everybody else gets paid, because the price is only gonna go up, 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 and up. Again, Daron Payne has more sacks than most of these guys have voted ahead of him anyway. So the agent's probably gonna be like, oh, okay, this guy got this much money. Daron Payne had more sacks than him, so he deserves this much more. So we got to get ahead of that. But right now, I'm getting ahead of myself right now. Let's take a look at the votes. Let's start with Jeremy Reaves, because he got the most votes out of anybody. Jeremy Reaves had 91 votes as a special teamer, the most in the entire NFL. This is not NFC, this is not AFC split up. This is the entire NFL. Jeremy Reaves had 91 votes. George Odom, who's second for the 49ers, had 72 votes. Justin Hardy for the Jets is third with 19. Like, Jeremy Reaves was not playing with people this year, man. And I'm glad that people saw it, man. I really am. And then Tress Way, I don't know what happened, but somehow he was fifth in voting with only 11. Tommy Townsend from the Kansas City Chiefs had 100. Ryan Stonehouse from the Tennessee Titans had 45. AJ Cole from Vegas had 22, and Johnny Hecker from Carolina had 12. And then there's Tress Way in fifth place with 11. I disagree wholeheartedly. I don't see that one. I mean, I feel like he was voted #1 as a Pro Bowler for a reason. And I remember at the point where he got voted in the Pro Bowl, he had the most punts down within the 20 in the NFL. So he deserved at the very least to be at least top 3 in votes, not 5th. So that was a snub right there. And I felt like, honestly, he should have been first team All-Pro, at the very least second team. And then before we go to defensive line, because we're going to go on a pretty big tangent about that again with the whole free agency stuff like that, Cameron Curl had 2 votes at safety. He was 15th in votes, ahead of Jalen Petre, who had a really good season for the Houston Texans. Jesse Bates for the Cincinnati Bengals, who a lot of us wanted to bring over here. Only problem was trading for him. That was the biggest problem. Cam Bynum of the Minnesota Vikings. Grant Delpit of Cleveland. Javon Holland from Miami, somebody who I wanted in the draft pretty bad. Devin McCourty of New England. Rodney McLeod of Indianapolis. And Antoine Winfield of Tampa Bay. Again, he had 2 votes. You had C.J. Gardner-Johnson with 3 votes ahead of him. Harrison Smith had 5. Kyle Duggar had 6. And it just goes on and on and on. Of course, Minkah Fitzpatrick had the most with 139. I'm not surprised by that. We knew him coming out of Alabama who he was going to be. We already knew that one. Talanoa Hufanga from the San Francisco 49ers was second with 49. And then Derwin James, somebody I really wanted in the draft, is third with 45. Shouts out to Sauce Gardner, too. The first rookie to make an all-pro team in like 40-something years or something like that. Definitely has a strong argument for being the best corner in the NFL as a rookie already. That is crazy. He was first place in votes made, the first pro all team and all of that. I can't wait for Chase Young to be up here, but for now, we have Jonathan Allen and Daron Payne, who was snubbed in my opinion. You have Chris Jones first with 148 votes, Quentin Williams second with 94, Dexter Lawrence third with 69, Jeffrey Simons fourth with 24, Christian Wilkins fifth with 15, Cameron Hayward sixth with 14, and then now you have Jonathan Allen 7th with 11. Then you have Aaron Donald with 10, Javon Hargrave with 6, and then Daron Payne, who's 10th with 5. I felt like those are both snubs right there. I felt like Jonathan Allen at the very least should have been second team All-Pro. I feel like at the very least, you could even possibly make an argument for him being first team. So for him to be 7th in voting is insane to me. And then Daron Payne with 11.5 sacks, I believe, being 10th. Daron Payne has more sacks than I believe the majority of people behind him. I mean, out of the entire NFL, including edge rushers and defensive tackles, Daron Payne is 8th in sacks. That's out of all defensive linemen, not just interior defensive linemen, not just defensive tackles, who we're basically only talking about as far as votes go. That's the only people he's up against. He's 8th out of the entire NFL in sacks with 11.5. The only people ahead of him are Quentin Williams from the Jets, as far as interior defensive linemen go, and Chris Jones of the Kansas City Chiefs. That's it. So if you want to go by sacks, Daron Payne should at the very least be 3rd in votes. Now, of course, getting sacks is not all that interior defensive linemen, defensive tackles do, but what is the exact criteria here? Because I feel like Daron Payne is pretty good against the run as well. I mean, he has more total tackles than Chris Jones and JJ Watt, who happens to be 4th in sacks this season. Shouts out to J.J. Watt for having such a great season, man. And when you look at combined tackles, he's ahead of Quinnen Williams. He's ahead of Brian Burns. He's ahead of J.J. Watt. He's ahead of Chris Jones. He's ahead of Myles Garrett and Nick Bosa. So exactly what is that criteria here? I'm not exactly sure what they don't see in Daron Payne for him to be 10th. I would understand, okay, he didn't make 1st or 2nd All-Pro team. I could kind of see that. But for him to be 10th in voting, and he's 8th in sacks, and 3rd in combined tackles, I mean, what more can this guy do this year? And that's, again, and not even just interior defensive linemen, that's all defensive linemen, including edge rushers. If we're only talking interior defensive linemen, he's 3rd in sacks, and 3rd in total tackles. I mean, what more do you want from this guy for him to end up getting voted 10th? And then again, Jonathan Allen, even though Daron Payne has the better stats, I feel like Jonathan Allen did have the more impactful season, especially game to game. It just seemed like Daron Payne did have a couple of games where he was just kind of like, Daron Payne is still on this team, right? Jonathan Allen was far more consistent and it seemed like he had a more consistent impact, and he was only 7th. So I feel like those are 2 dangerously low snubs right there. But it is what it is, man. I'm not going to complain too much, but man, just to let you know, shouts out to Ben Standig for pointing this out. 6 defensive tackles, just interior defensive linemen only, that received All-Pro votes this year are entering free agency or are in the final year of their contracts. This is scary, man. Like I said earlier, we're gonna have to get ahead of this and make sure we go ahead and give Daron Payne all the money he wants ahead of time. Let's be the first one to sign our defensive lineman to a new contract, because if we let other guys get signed, Chris Jones, Quinnen Williams, all of those guys get signed before Daron Payne, it can get really ugly. Because again, Daron Payne's stats, sacks, combined tackles, All-Pro votes, Pro Bowl votes, leading our team in sacks with 11.5, had even more sacks than Jonathan Allen. I mean, the agent may even just go to look at Jonathan Allen's contract and what he got, and Daron Payne had more sacks than him. So he deserves this much more money for that. And then again, if we let these other defensive linemen get signed long-term, whether they're heading into free agency or they're in the last year of their contract heading into the 2023 season, if we let those teams get those guys signed long-term before Daron Payne, and then his agent is like, well, Daron Payne has more sacks than this guy as well, so you need to pay him this much more just because of that too. So it could get really ugly. We got to get ahead of this immediately. I mean, the day that we can sign Daron Payne, he needs to be signed that day. Don't even allow this to get too crazy. I mean, you remember Daron Payne's interview in the locker room cleanup. I'm gonna show y'all Jeremy Reaves at the end of the video, but here's Daron Payne's right now where he's like, man, I'm ready to get paid, man.
How tough is this day for you? I mean, obviously, you don't know what your future is. This could be your last day inside this locker room. What are your emotions like?
I really don't have any emotions right now. I'm just trying to clean out my locker and get home.
Does it kind of feel like the last day of school? Everybody's like cleaning up, signing your book?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it definitely feels like the last day of school. Definitely.
How do you approach the off season? Like, what are the conversations you have with your agent, the team? What do you do from here?
My agent, he gets paid good. He's one of the best in the business, and he's gonna do his job. And I got faith in him. And me, I'm just gonna relax and get the training and come back.
What do you want? What do you want?
Oh, you know what I want, man. It's self-explanatory.
You do know you're gonna get paid this offseason, right?
Oh yeah.
With a smile on your face. Does it matter where you play? You just want to get your value, right? Or does it? Or are you kind of be picky?
I just want what I earn.
Do you have a priority? Is it finding a team to win? Is it finding a defense to fit into? Is there something that you think you want?
I mean, I can't say too much right now, man. I'm just trying to, you feel me, get my stuff and get going.
You think you'll be back?
Who knows? We'll see.
I'm scared, man. I'm scared. I mean, I think he's worth every penny. Remember, I did a whole video going to Spot Track, and they were trying to estimate and predict. They used a lot of math and historical context as to how much money a lot of our potential free agents should be getting as far as their market value and things like that. And Taylor Heineke, for some reason, was almost $20 million a year, but they felt like Daron Payne may be able to go for around $14 million a year. And I was very surprised by that, because I feel like getting them for $17 million a year is a steal. I felt like that's a really good deal. I was prepared to almost give him 20. If we could get him for $14 million a year, he needs to be signed today. I'll go do it myself, man. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think he ends up signing for that, but for some reason, Spot Track feels like he can, and I hope we find a way to get it done, because $14 million a year and we can spend so much more money on other guys, I think that would be virtually unfair. as far as contracts go. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Please leave a like on this video if you liked it, if you learned anything. Of course, man, I appreciate all of the support, man. Shouts out to all of my sponsors, especially my Pro Bowl sponsors whose names you see scrolling on the screen right now. Let me know how you feel about how many votes Jeremy Reaves got, how many votes Cameron McCurl, Tressway, Jonathan Allen, Daron Payne got. And also let me know how you feel about this upcoming free agency with Daron Payne, with this defensive tackle class, this free agency group, man. It's ugly. Do you agree with me that we need to go ahead and pay Daron Payne right now? Or do you feel like it's worth waiting to see what this market may end up being? Of course, let me know all of that and more in the comment section, and I will catch y'all later. I'm out.
So nice to end the season with a win, but kind of bittersweet knowing the season's over, right?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's like it's tough, you know. Like, we're done playing ball, obviously, but you want to end it on that note. But at the same time, you have in the back of your head, like, we ain't gonna be playing football for a while. So, you know, it's definitely bittersweet. Definitely a moment where, you know, you just really appreciate all the guys. You know, everybody's, you know, telling each other they love them and appreciate them. It's cool. This is a good moment.
What is this moment like for you? Because it's got to be emotional, because knowing next year you may not have the same guys in the locker room, because it is a business at the end of the day.
I remember after preseason 3, I told the guys in the huddle that, you know, this is the last time this is going to look like this, you know. No matter what, this is going to change. So just don't leave this field with no regrets, you know. Leave everything out there, and I think all the guys in here did. And so, yeah, it's the tough part of the business. This is the part where, you know, guys go different places, free agency, you know, different things happen. And so that's the tough part. You build relationships with guys, and you build that camaraderie, and then it kind of, things happen, you know. So
Tonight it seemed like with this team there was an intensity and a focus, really kind of amped up. Did you feel that?
Yeah, I mean, just play for each other, man. You know, play for each other, because we all have the understanding that, you know, it's not going to look the same this year, you know. Like, it won't, some shape or form it'll change. So I think the guys in here just really, like, you know, just went out there and said, you know, we're going to do this for each other, man, and go play hard, and you know, just try to put the best thing out there for the last game.
How much have you grown from the start of this year to where we are?
I remember, I'll say it again, they asked what was the difference between all the years of before and now. Yeah. Confidence, man, just believing in myself, man, and really just going out there and trusting what I do and, like, the player I am, man, and you know, the product is what you see on the field, you know. So I can't take all the credit, you know. My guys, they've been a you know, instrumental part of that, and my coaches, you know, really supporting me, and you know what I'm saying, God, you know, at the end of the day.
What do you think about Sam Howell? Stepped in there and played pretty well.
Rook got in there and handled his business, man. I'm happy for him, super happy for him. You know, that's tough to go in there against a defense like that, you know, with their pass rush and their guys in the back end, and you know, go perform at a high level. But he did really well. I'm super proud of him.